In my reporter's notebook this week, 3 updates. First, on how the disease of Aaron Schock-itis, currently being treated by the FBI and a grand jury down in Springfield, also infects other members of Congress. Then there's the latest chapter in low-paid jobs migrating from Chicago to Northwest Indiana. But let's start with this truly terrifying report from Moody's Investors Services. They write that the public employee pension nightmare faced by Chicago taxpayers is going to get much worse, even if courts uphold the pension reform law now being challenged. Public employee pensions in recent years took about 10% of City Hall's total spending. Moody's says we'll soon think those were the good old days. Quote, if city officials do not grow revenue or cut spending, net pension contributions are projected to consume 42% of operating revenue by 2026. Ouch. Moody's says pension payments may have to grow for a dozen more years before they finally start to level off in the late 2020s. Next, as we predicted here right after Peoria Congressman Aaron Schock resigned in disgrace, it turns out other members of Congress are doing some of the same things that ended his career and that of former Representative Jesse Jackson Jr., notably using their campaign war chests as private slush funds. A report by Politico.com showed that Schock is far from alone in the bipartisan abuse of his campaign funds. A Democrat from Philadelphia spends $10 grand a year at the Capitol Girls Steakhouse, some for Christmas gifts to staffers. The Republican whip spent more than $12 grand in just the last few months at Vineyard Vines, described as a source of preppy clothing. An Arizona Democrat paid 20 visits to a D.C. dive bar near the Capitol and used his campaign to pay about $1,000 of that bar tab. It all put me in mind of the bipartisan circling of wagons on Capitol Hill that occurred right after Schock resigned.
I do think there are ample controls in place to deal with the allegations that are involved here. But understand something. If somebody's going to violate the rules, they're going to violate the rules.
I would like to think that what happened in that particular case is so outrageous and so unusual.
Well, Schock may have been unusual in the extent of what he did, but it's clear that many, many, many members of Congress do exactly the same thing, at least in part. And if it's Sunday morning, it must be time to name another Illinois-based company putting jobs in Indiana. Chicago-based Root Brothers Manufacturing and Supply Company announced in a press release jointly issued with the state of Indiana that it's expanding to nearby Hammond. The industrial tool company will open a new distribution center in Northwest Indiana. The press release on all of this cited the usual reasons: lower business taxes, a generally lower cost of doing business, and it quoted Hammond Mayor Tom McDermott saying that he's working with several other Illinois-based companies who are considering a similar move. 49 jobs involved in the Root Company move. We'll keep you and the folks in Springfield posted on further developments from Hammond. You can find interviews from today's program on myfoxchicago.com. Scroll over the politics tab at the top, then click on Fox 32 Sunday. For now, stay tuned for Fox News Sunday. That's up next. And come back to Fox 32 News at 9 p.m. Have a great week.